She mocked human reproduction, then the alien girl experienced it herself. Lyra had always thought humans were strange. From her logical, orderly world, the way humans lived, grew, and reproduced seemed chaotic, almost laughable. She had arrived at the intergalactic research station full of pride in her species, superior intelligence. Everything about humans, from their unpredictable behavior to their complex emotions, fascinated her, but she had never admitted to being impressed. Instead, she enjoyed pointing out their flaws, often loudly and with a sense of superiority. One bright morning, Lyra found herself in the observation deck of the station, where a group of human scientists was running simulations about human life. She leaned over the railing, her pale, translucent skin shimmering in the soft light, and watched as the simulation displayed human reproduction in all its messy glory. Cells divided, tiny embryos formed, and life unfolded in ways she considered inefficient and illogical. "They really let this happen?" she asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "All of this randomness, and yet they survive." The human biologist, Captain Arlen, looked at her and smiled. He had grown used to aliens laughing at humans, but he enjoyed these moments more than he admitted. "Yes," he said simply. "Humans survive because they adapt. It's messy, yes, but it works." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Messy is not logical. Logic wins in the end. There is no need for such chaos." She crossed her arms and shook her head, clearly amused by what she considered the human folly. Arlen chuckled. "You may think so now, but humans are clever in ways that don't always make sense on paper. Sometimes the unpredictability itself is the strength." Lyra tilted her head. "I would like to see this strength of theirs firsthand. I doubt it exists." Arlen's smile widened. "That's exactly why we have the interactive experience program. It lets alien species live through human life cycles without harming anyone. You experience the challenges, the changes, and the peculiarities of being human." Lyra blinked, her curiosity piqued. "I am confident that observing will be enough. Living, it seems, unnecessary." "I already know humans are inefficient. You might learn otherwise," Arlen said. "Sometimes knowledge comes best from experience, not observation." Lyra hesitated. Her species prized logic and analysis over personal experience, yet a small part of her, a part she rarely acknowledged, wanted to see this human life cycle up close. She agreed, mostly out of curiosity, and Arlen guided her to the simulation chambers. The chamber was small, soft-lit, and filled with delicate machinery. A gentle hum filled the air as Arlen explained how the simulation would work. "It's not real reproduction," he said. "You won't experience actual biology in that sense. But the simulation mimics what humans go through: hormonal changes, emotional responses, and the challenges of preparing for parenthood. You will understand why humans thrive despite their messiness." Lyra's eyes sparkled with both skepticism and excitement. "Very well. Let's begin." The moment she entered the chamber, the simulation enveloped her. A soft light surrounded her body, and she felt a strange, warm pulse in her chest. Her mind adjusted, and suddenly she saw through the eyes of a human mother. She felt the subtle, unsteady rhythm of life inside her, a sense of growth and change that was unpredictable and yet fascinating. At first, she reacted with her usual logical analysis. "This is inefficient," she murmured. "Why does the body require such constant adjustments?" But the simulation had a mind of its own. Lyra could not simply observe and detach herself. She felt small surges of emotion she could not control. Confusion, anticipation, and even a strange, protective instinct she had never experienced before washed over her. Hours passed, or at least it felt like hours, and Lyra experienced tiny challenges humans faced: morning fatigue, unexpected cravings, and sudden bursts of energy. She had to balance these changes with her daily routine, all while learning about the human mind's emotional depth. It was exhausting and yet strangely rewarding. At one point, the simulation presented a scenario. A human child needed attention, and Lyra had to respond. She instinctively tried to apply logic, calculating the fastest, most efficient method to care for the child. But the child's reactions were unpredictable, defying her calculations. She frowned, frustrated. This inefficiency irritated her in the beginning, but soon she found herself adapting in ways she had never anticipated. She discovered creativity in small acts, comforting a child with a song, improvising solutions to problems, and finding joy in tiny victories. Lyra began to notice something remarkable. The more she adapted, the more capable she became at handling the chaos. Human life was not efficient, yes, but it was resilient. It required intuition, empathy, and flexibility, qualities her species rarely practiced. She felt a grudging admiration beginning to grow inside her. By the end of the simulation, Lyra was exhausted, yet she could not stop smiling. She had witnessed firsthand the messiness of human life and discovered its hidden power. Human reproduction, with all its complexity, was not a flaw. It was a design that allowed humans to thrive in unpredictable environments, to overcome challenges that pure logic could not solve. Arlen entered the chamber to find her seated on the floor, her translucent skin faintly glowing with the simulation's residual energy. "So?" he asked. Lyra looked up, eyes wide but thoughtful. "So," she said slowly, "humans are remarkable. I underestimated them." "Their inefficiency is part of their strength," Arlen nodded. "Exactly, that's the HFY moment. Humans survive not because they are perfect, but because they are adaptable, creative, and resilient. Chaos is their ally." Lyra leaned back, letting the realization settle in. She could not deny the truth she had experienced. She had mocked humans for what she thought were flaws, but now she understood that those same traits made them extraordinary. For the first time, she felt something akin to respect, an alien admiration for human ingenuity. As she left the simulation chamber, Lyra knew that her perception of humans had changed forever. She had come to mock, but she left enlightened. And deep inside, she felt a strange excitement, knowing that tomorrow she would return to the station not as a critic, but as a student of human resilience. The universe, she realized, had far more surprises than she had ever imagined. The morning light poured into the research station, casting soft shadows along the corridors. Lyra walked slowly, her thoughts still tangled with the lessons she had learned in the simulation chamber. For the first time, she felt a mix of curiosity and humility toward humans. Their so-called inefficiencies were no longer laughable. They were impressive, almost inspiring. She found herself in the common area where humans and other aliens often shared meals and conversation. Captain Arlen was already there, sipping a hot beverage, his expression calm and welcoming. "Good morning, Lyra," he said. "I see the simulation left quite an impression." Lyra nodded. "It did, more than I expected. Humans are adaptable in ways my species never practices." "I underestimated them," Arlen smiled knowingly. "You'll see even more tomorrow. Today we have a small exercise, one that requires not just observation but action." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Action? I am prepared to participate, but what does this entail?" Arlen gestured toward a small group gathered nearby. Human families were interacting with alien students, sharing stories about raising children and handling life's unpredictable moments. "We call it the empathy exercise," he explained. "You will experience the challenges of human unpredictability in real time. It is designed to teach you how humans think, feel, and adapt to situations where logic alone cannot provide answers." Lyra hesitated for a moment. Logic had always been her guide, but she felt a strange pull to learn more. With a quiet nod, she agreed. The exercise began simply. Lyra was handed a small, robotic child designed to mimic human behavior. It could express needs, emotions, and even frustration. At first, she approached it with careful calculations, trying to predict the child's reactions. She held it gently, expecting it to respond in a way that made sense. The child, however, had its own will. It fussed, demanded attention, and resisted every attempt at a controlled response. Lyra's initial frustration was palpable. "This is illogical," she muttered. "It should respond to clear instructions." A human instructor stepped forward. "Sometimes humans, or their children, don't follow instructions. They respond to care, attention, and understanding. Logic alone isn't enough." Lyra paused, studying the small robot. She noticed that when she spoke softly, with patience rather than strict control, the child calmed. Its movements became smoother, its reactions more predictable. She adjusted her approach, focusing on observation and empathy instead of calculation. Slowly, she began to see the effectiveness of flexibility. By the afternoon, the exercise had escalated. Multiple robotic children with different personalities were introduced. Some were shy, others energetic, some stubborn. Lyra had to respond to all of them at once, balancing attention, solving problems, and preventing small mishaps. She stumbled at first, overwhelmed by the variety and unpredictability. But with each attempt, she adapted. She began to anticipate reactions, not with logic but with intuition, a skill she had rarely used in her life before. She found herself laughing when one robotic child spilled its food, a small disaster by her earlier standards. She cleaned it up calmly, discovering a surprising sense of satisfaction in the chaos. "This works," she admitted softly to herself. Humans are not only surviving this mess, they thrive because of it. As evening approached, Arlen introduced the final stage of the exercise. The human instructors described a complex scenario. A group of children needed guidance during a simulated storm. The lights dimmed, alarms sounded, and the robotic children expressed fear and confusion. Lyra's heart raced. Her instinct was to calculate the fastest and most efficient way to solve the problem, but she quickly realized that logic alone could not calm the children. She knelt among them, speaking gently, offering reassurance and guidance. She adjusted her actions to their reactions, responding to each child individually while keeping the group safe. Slowly, the storm simulation ended. The lights returned to normal, and the children, robotic though they were, appeared calm and content. Lyra felt a wave of accomplishment unlike anything she had experienced before. It was not the satisfaction of solving a problem perfectly or efficiently. It was the joy of connecting, of understanding, and of adapting to life's unpredictability. Humans thrived not because they were perfect, but because they could navigate chaos with empathy, creativity, and resilience. Arlen approached her, his expression pleased. "You see now, don't you? Human strength lies not in perfection, but in adaptability. Their messiness is a form of intelligence, a survival skill honed over millennia." Lyra nodded slowly, still catching her breath from the exercise. "I see it. I never realized logic is not the only path to success. Humans rely on flexibility, intuition, and emotion, and they succeed because of it." Arlen smiled. "Exactly, that is the HFY truth. Humanity thrives in ways that seem chaotic or inefficient, but there is genius in their unpredictability. That is why they endure, explore, and innovate." Lyra spent the rest of the evening reflecting on her experience. She wandered through the observation deck, watching human families interact, noting their laughter, their small conflicts, their care for one another. She began to understand the beauty and imperfection, the way humans embraced unpredictability, transforming challenges into opportunities. She realized that her own species, while logical and efficient, often missed the richness of life that humans experienced. They solved problems but rarely experienced the joy of discovery, the satisfaction of intuition, or the bonds formed through empathy. Humans lived fully, in ways that calculations could not measure. The next morning, Lyra returned to the simulation chamber one last time. Arlen guided her through a final reflection session. She recounted her experiences, her frustrations, and her moments of surprise. She described how adapting to unpredictable situations had been challenging, yet rewarding. "You have learned much," Arlen said. "And this is only the beginning. Understanding humans is not about mastering their biology or their behavior. It is about appreciating their resilience, creativity, and ability to thrive in chaos." Lyra nodded, a small smile on her face. "I mocked them at first. I believed their ways were illogical, but I was wrong. Humans are remarkable. Their strength is not in perfection, but in their ability to adapt, to grow, and to survive where others might fail." Arlen placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture of encouragement. "And that is why we celebrate HFY. Humanity is more than just a species. It is a symbol of ingenuity, courage, and perseverance." Lyra felt a warmth she had never known. It was not physical warmth, but a sense of understanding, of connection, of admiration. She realized that humans had taught her more than she had taught them. She had come to mock, but she left enlightened. She had experienced life as humans lived it and discovered the brilliance hidden in what she had once considered chaos. As she left the station that evening, Lyra looked up at the stars, feeling a newfound respect for the species she had once dismissed. The universe was vast, full of mysteries, but humans had a way of navigating it that was uniquely their own. They thrived, they adapted, and they endured, not because they were perfect, but because they embraced life fully in all its unpredictable glory. Lyra knew that she would carry this lesson with her forever. She would speak of it to her own people, perhaps even challenge their rigid ways. For the first time, she understood that sometimes the greatest intelligence is not in calculation, but in the ability to adapt, to empathize, and to embrace life's beautiful messiness. And as the stars shimmered above, Lyra whispered quietly to herself, a sense of awe in her voice. Humanity truly is remarkable. Lyra returned to the station days later, but this time her purpose was different. Before, she had come as a skeptic, eager to prove human life illogical and inefficient. Now, she came as a learner, eager to understand the depth of human strength and resilience. The lessons she had absorbed from the simulations and exercises weighed on her mind, yet she wondered how they would translate to real-world challenges aboard the station. The station itself was alive with activity. Humans and aliens worked side by side, conducting experiments, maintaining systems, and exploring new frontiers in space. Lyra moved through the corridors quietly, observing the interactions around her. Human engineers coordinated tasks despite interruptions and unexpected obstacles, finding solutions with creativity and quick thinking. She noted how calmly they adapted when systems malfunctioned or plans changed, something her species rarely practiced. Captain Arlen greeted her warmly. "Lyra, welcome back. Today we have a practical exercise. This is where theory and simulation meet reality." Lyra's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "What will I be doing?" "You will assist with the station's new biogarden," Arlen explained. "It's a complex ecosystem designed to provide food, oxygen, and medicinal plants for the station. Human engineers need to maintain balance within the garden, but unexpected challenges will arise. Your task is to help navigate them. It will test your understanding of adaptability, problem-solving, and intuition." Lyra followed him to the garden, a vibrant space filled with colorful plants, humming machines, and gentle streams of water. She inhaled the scent of growing life and felt an odd sense of peace. The simulation exercises had taught her much, but now she would face true unpredictability. Almost immediately, a challenge appeared. A small section of the garden's irrigation system malfunctioned, threatening to flood part of the plants. Lyra instinctively moved toward the problem with a plan based on efficiency and logic. She calculated the fastest way to shut off the water and redirect it. But as she worked, she realized that the system was more complex than she anticipated. Human engineers rushed to her side, offering suggestions and improvising solutions that she could not have predicted. Instead of frustration, she felt excitement. Together, they adjusted valves, rerouted water, and stabilized the section. Her logical approach alone would not have succeeded, but combined with human creativity and teamwork, the problem was solved quickly. "Impressive," Arlen said. "You adapted well, Lyra." Notice how humans rely on each other, on improvisation, and on intuition rather than following a rigid plan. Lyra nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. "Yes, it feels alive, unpredictable yet effective." The day continued with more challenges. Some plants required careful pruning, others needed nutrients redistributed, and a few developed unexpected growth patterns. Lyra quickly learned that trying to control everything with strict logic only slowed her down. When she allowed herself to observe, to adapt, and to trust her instincts, she became more effective and even found enjoyment in the process. At one point, a sudden power fluctuation caused lights to flicker, and some delicate plants risked damage. Lyra hesitated, unsure of the correct response. She had memorized rules, formulas, and steps, but the situation demanded improvisation. Then, remembering her experiences with human simulations and the robotic children, she took a deep breath and acted. She guided the human engineers to stabilize the affected areas, suggested creative ways to protect the plants, and even found a temporary solution that prevented further damage. By the time the day ended, Lyra felt exhausted but exhilarated. She had witnessed firsthand how humans thrived in unpredictability, using not just logic, but creativity, intuition, and teamwork. It was a stark contrast to her species, where efficiency and control were prized above all else. Humans embraced chaos, and through it they excelled. After leaving the garden, Lyra walked alone along the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. She reflected on how much she had learned. Humans were not just adaptable, they were resilient, creative, and capable of thriving where others might fail. Their unpredictability, once a source of amusement for her, was now a source of admiration. Arlen joined her quietly. "You've come far, Lyra. Do you feel the difference now, not just in understanding humans, but in experiencing life the way they do?" Lyra turned to him, her expression thoughtful. I do. It is not simply a matter of efficiency or perfection. Humans succeed because they respond, adapt, and grow through every challenge. Their strength is in their flexibility, their willingness to try new approaches, and their ability to learn from failure. Arlen nodded. Exactly, and this is what makes them remarkable. They are not the strongest in the traditional sense, nor the fastest or most logical, but they survive, thrive, and even inspire through their ingenuity. Lyra smiled softly. I once mocked them. I believed their ways were chaotic and flawed. But now I understand that their strength lies within that very chaos. It is beautiful. The next morning, Lyra received an unexpected invitation. A human child named Mina, known for her curiosity and intelligence, wanted to show her something in the garden. Lyra followed, intrigued. Mina led her to a small corner where young plants were growing in a unique pattern, almost like a miniature forest. We are experimenting with how different plants grow together, Mina explained. It's unpredictable, but it teaches us about cooperation and balance. Lyra watched as Mina guided the tiny plants, adjusting their positions, observing how sunlight and water affected them, and noting how they responded to gentle care. She realized that even a child could understand and thrive in complexity through observation, adaptation, and creativity. Humans learn not just from instruction, but from interaction, experimentation, and experience. I see now, Lyra said softly. Even at a young age, humans practice the skills that make them resilient. They learn from life itself, not just from rules or formulas. Mina smiled. That's why humans survive. We learn, we adapt, we help each other, and we try again when things go wrong. Life is unpredictable, but that is what makes it exciting. Lyra felt a deep sense of connection. She realized that she, too, could benefit from embracing unpredictability and creativity. She had come to the station to understand humans, but she had also discovered something about herself. The importance of balance between logic and intuition, calculation and creativity, observation and action. The exercise continued for weeks. Lyra participated in various tasks, managing the garden, assisting in experiments, helping humans solve engineering problems, and even guiding younger aliens in understanding human culture. Each challenge reinforced the lesson she had learned. Humans thrived because they embraced life fully, with all its unpredictability and complexity. One evening, as Lyra walked alone under the artificial sky of the station's observation dome, she reflected on her journey. She had mocked humans, believing their biology and behavior were illogical and inefficient. She had experienced simulations, exercises, and real-world challenges, and she had learned that human life was far richer and more powerful than she had imagined. Their messiness was a form of intelligence. Their unpredictability was a strength. Their creativity, empathy, and adaptability allowed them to survive and flourish where others might fail. Humanity was not just a species. It was an example of resilience, ingenuity, and the beauty of embracing life fully. Lyra knew she would carry these lessons back to her own people. She would tell them about the humans who thrived through chaos, who learned from experience, and who used creativity and empathy as tools to survive and excel. She would challenge her species to see that perfection was not the only path to success, and that adaptability and intuition could be just as powerful as logic. As she gazed at the stars, she whispered quietly to herself, a smile on her lips. Humans are remarkable. I mocked them once, but now I see they are more than I ever imagined. And for the first time in her life, Lyra felt not just respect, but admiration for a species she had once dismissed. She had come to mock, but she left enlightened, inspired, and forever changed. The universe was vast, full of mysteries and challenges, but humanity had shown her a truth she would never forget. Life was not about perfection or control. It was about embracing unpredictability, learning, adapting, and thriving through every twist and turn. And as Lyra walked back to the station's central hub, she carried with her a new understanding, a newfound respect, and a deep sense of wonder. Humanity was not just surviving, they were thriving, and that, she realized, was the greatest lesson any species could teach. Lyra woke early, as was her habit, though now she moved through the station with a different sense of purpose. The days of skepticism and mockery were behind her. Each morning she felt a growing excitement about learning from humans, observing their ways, and applying the lessons she had absorbed. The station itself felt different now. not merely a place of research and observation, but a living environment brimming with challenges, discoveries, and opportunities to witness human ingenuity firsthand. Captain Arlen met her in the central hub, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. "Good morning, Lyra. Today will test more than adaptability. It will test creativity and leadership." Lyra tilted her head, curious. "Leadership? I am not here to lead, Captain. My purpose is to observe and understand." "Observation alone is useful," Arlen said, "but humans thrive because they lead when necessary, follow when necessary, and find solutions when the unexpected occurs. Today you will experience this." Lyra followed him to a new section of the station, the engineering workshop. Robots and human engineers worked on constructing a new module designed to recycle energy from the station's solar arrays. The project was complicated and required constant adjustments to deal with equipment limitations and environmental variations. Arlen turned to her. "Your task is simple: assist and coordinate. Watch, learn, and act where you see opportunity." Lyra stepped forward cautiously. Her first instinct was to calculate the optimal workflow, prioritizing tasks based on efficiency and expected output. She organized the tools, assessed the machinery, and began issuing suggestions in her precise, logical voice. Yet she quickly noticed the humans did not follow a strict plan. Instead, they improvised, responded to small changes, and constantly adjusted their work based on observation rather than rigid rules. At first, Lyra felt frustrated. Her calculations and forecasts seemed ignored. But as she watched, a new understanding emerged. Humans were not careless, they were flexible. They adapted to problems in real time, finding creative solutions she could not have predicted. Slowly, she adjusted her approach. Instead of directing, she began collaborating. Instead of controlling, she began observing and responding. By midday, the team encountered a significant challenge. A component critical to the module's function had failed unexpectedly. The replacement was delayed, and the project risked falling behind schedule. Lyra instinctively began analyzing the problem logically, calculating alternatives and predicting outcomes. But then she paused and observed the humans around her. They were discussing possibilities, experimenting with small adjustments, and testing ideas that seemed unplanned yet productive. A young human engineer named Kira noticed Lyra standing quietly and said, "We don't have the part yet, but maybe we can reroute the circuits temporarily. Want to help me try it?" Lyra hesitated, her mind searching for the logical solution. Then, remembering the lessons from the garden, the simulations, and the robotic children, she realized that sometimes the solution lay in adaptability, not perfection. She nodded. "Yes, let us try." Together, they experimented, adjusting the circuits carefully and observing how each change affected the module. Mistakes happened, but they were small and contained. With patience and collaboration, they discovered a temporary workaround that allowed the project to continue. Lyra felt a surge of satisfaction. This was not perfect, but it worked. Humans thrived in this environment not by avoiding error, but by responding creatively and persistently. As the day progressed, more challenges emerged: power fluctuations, unexpected material shortages, and minor technical failures. Each time, Lyra applied the same principle: observe, adapt, respond. She found herself improvising alongside the humans, suggesting adjustments based on intuition, and accepting solutions that were not the perfect ones her species would have demanded. By evening, the module was complete and operational. The human engineers cheered quietly, celebrating the small triumph. Lyra, though exhausted, felt a deeper sense of achievement than she had ever known. She had participated fully, not merely as an observer but as a contributor, and in the process, she had learned something profoundly human. Success was not measured by perfection, but by resilience, creativity, and the ability to learn from every experience. Later, Lyra found herself in the station's observation dome, gazing at the stars. She thought of her world, where logic was supreme and control was absolute. There, mistakes were failures, and deviation from protocol was often punished. By contrast, humans seemed to celebrate problem-solving, ingenuity, and collaboration, even when the path was uncertain. Their intelligence was not confined to calculations. It was alive, adaptable, and deeply connected to the unpredictable nature of life itself. Arlen joined her silently, his presence familiar and reassuring. "You've changed," he said softly. When you arrived, you mocked humans. Now you understand them and perhaps something about yourself, too. Lyra nodded. I have learned that strength is not only in efficiency or logic. It is in adaptability, creativity, and resilience. Humans survive because they embrace life's unpredictability, not because they control it. I see now that perfection is not the ultimate measure of success. Arlen smiled. And that is the lesson we hope every alien visitor learns. Humans are extraordinary not because they are flawless, but because they thrive despite flaws, mistakes, and chaos. The following days brought more experiences. Lyra assisted in educational programs, helping young humans and aliens explore science through experimentation. She guided teams in solving logistical puzzles, participated in art projects inspired by scientific principles, and even helped plan recreational activities for the station's residents. Each challenge reinforced the same truth. Human brilliance lay in their flexibility, collaboration, and willingness to embrace the unknown. One afternoon, Lyra joined a group of humans and aliens in a small adventure on the station's external decks. They were testing a new drone designed to navigate complex terrain in zero gravity. The team faced unexpected turbulence, mechanical issues, and communication delays. Lyra's instincts first led her to calculate a precise sequence of corrections. But she quickly realized that the environment demanded improvisation and teamwork. She worked alongside the humans, adjusting her approach to each unexpected development. She suggested creative maneuvers for the drone, responded to alerts as they came, and relied on intuition as much as analysis. By the end of the session, the drone successfully completed its course, and the team cheered. Lyra felt a profound sense of joy, not in perfection, but in adaptability, creativity, and shared accomplishment. That evening, Lyra reflected on her journey. She had begun her stay on the station as a skeptic, mocking humans for what she considered illogical behavior and inefficient biology. Through simulations, exercises, and real-world challenges, she had witnessed their remarkable resilience, creativity, and intelligence. She had learned that humans thrived not in spite of unpredictability, but because of it. Their ability to adapt, empathize, and collaborate allowed them to overcome challenges that pure logic alone could not solve. Lyra realized that this lesson extended beyond her understanding of humans. It applied to life itself, to the universe, and to the possibilities she had yet to explore. Life was not about strict rules, absolute control, or perfect outcomes. It was about embracing unpredictability, learning from mistakes, and working together to overcome challenges. Humans embodied this principle in every action, every choice, and every connection. She decided to share her insights with her own species. Perhaps they would learn to value adaptability, intuition, and collaboration as much as logic and precision. Perhaps they would understand that intelligence was not only in calculation, but in creativity and resilience. And perhaps, through these lessons, they could thrive in ways her world had never imagined. As the artificial sky of the observation dome shifted from day to night, Lyra gazed at the stars with a renewed sense of wonder. She understood now why humans survived, thrived, and inspired others across the galaxy. Their brilliance was not in perfection, but in their ability to adapt, create, and persist. Humanity was a testament to the power of embracing life fully, with all its unpredictability and challenges. A soft hum from the station reminded her that life continued, that work and discovery never ceased. Lyra felt ready. She would continue learning, observing, and participating, not as an outsider mocking humans, but as a student inspired by their ingenuity. She had come to the station to witness human life. Now she had come to embrace its lessons. Lyra walked toward the hub, a sense of purpose and confidence in her step. She knew that the universe was vast, full of uncertainty, and filled with challenges beyond imagination. But she also knew that humanity offered a blueprint for thriving in the unpredictable. Their creativity, resilience, and adaptability were qualities worth celebrating, learning from, and sharing. As she entered the hub, she smiled at the humans around her, seeing in their actions and interactions the brilliance she had once mocked. She realized that admiration had replaced skepticism, respect had replaced judgment, and inspiration had replaced curiosity. Humanity, in all its messy, unpredictable glory, had changed her forever. And as the station hummed with life, Lyra whispered quietly to herself, a soft vow carried on the air. I will not forget. I will remember the lesson humans have taught me, that true strength lies in adaptability, creativity, and the courage to embrace life's uncertainties. For the first time in her existence, Lyra felt she was part of something larger, not merely observing, but participating, learning, and growing alongside a species that had taught her the meaning of resilience, ingenuity, and the beauty of imperfection. Humanity, she realized, was extraordinary, and she was determined to carry that truth wherever she went.